These are the 17 biggest mistakes that a lot of Quest 3 and Quest 3S users make, and how to avoid them. And starting off with number 1 is wrongly charging your headset. Now, while it is definitely easiest to just plug in your USB-C cable and let your Quest 3 charge overnight, this will sadly shorten its battery life significantly over time. So instead, try to just unplug it whenever the LED light turns green, or even just before that. But if you do choose to charge it overnight, at least make sure that you use the official cable that came with it inside the box. Because otherwise, you might even end up with a completely broken device like some other users have, thanks to some low quality third-party cables. And number 2 is not using your hand straps. And yes, while it is annoying to put these on each time that you use them, it is these hand straps that can sometimes really save you from throwing your controllers across the room or even against your brand new TV. And alternatively, you could get some knuckle straps that wrap around your hand instead, while still staying in place when you're playing some high intensity games. But moving on, we have number 3, and that is cleaning your lenses incorrectly. Now this is also one of the biggest mistakes that can really leave some permanent damage on your headset. Because when your VR optics are getting dirty, you might be tempted to just quickly wipe them off with your t-shirt or a nearby laying paper towel. But this can leave some nasty scratches on your lenses that won't go anyway anymore at all. So instead, try to make use of a microfiber cloth, which you will most likely have laying somewhere around at home anyways. And while on the topic of cleaning, this also gets us to number 4, and that is regarding your joysticks. Because when you are using your VR controllers a lot, then these will also inevitably get dirty over time. But when these are not being cleaned regularly, then these small dirt particles can also get into the tiny spaces around your joystick. And this will cause a familiar issue to a lot of hardcore VR users, and that is known as stick drift. Now, the easiest way to prevent this without having to take your entire controllers apart is of course by keeping it clean after each use. However, while it is also possible to change the dead space of your controllers inside your settings, in case that this cleaning didn't work, this should only be used as a last choice alternative. But that gets us to maybe the biggest overlooked mistake of all, and that is not having the right IPD settings. For example, the Quest 3S just has 3 different options that you can switch between by simply pushing the lenses slowly to the side, while the Quest 3 on the other hand has a scroll wheel built in on the bottom, and it can change these settings step by step and much more specifically. Either way though, setting these to your own correct values will make your screen look a lot less blurry. And number 6 is not knowing shortcuts. Because the Quest 3 and 3S both actually have some awesome secret functions that can save you a lot of time. For example, on your right controller, when you press the meta button and then quickly follow it up with the trigger, you can take a screenshot of whatever you are looking at. And if you hold the trigger a bit longer, then you can start or stop a recording. But another shortcut that you might know already is that tapping the side of your headset twice will instantly switch your view between mixed reality and VR. But we also have mistake number 7, and that is not changing your home environment. Now, as you can see on screen, Meta has put the Horizon Central Hub as the standard background of your home space when you first turn on your headset. But what many people don't know is that you can easily change that. So to do this, get your controllers again and now press on the 3-stripe button on the left hand side. And that will open up a menu that includes all the different built-in scenery options for you to choose from. With all that is left to do is just select the one that you find most interesting and let it change in just a couple of seconds. But we should also talk about maybe the most important mistakes of all, and that is of course regarding the games, and more specifically about getting motion sick. Because when most new VR users get their first Quest headset, they often directly want to jump into some of the craziest and hardcore experiences. Think for example about one of my personal favorites, such as Skydance Behemoth. But when they do that, then they will quickly notice a certain nausea that is starting up after just a couple minutes of playing. But don't worry, this is completely normal. And it will also take a while until you have created your so-called VR legs. So if you are new to VR, make sure to always check out the intensity levels that comes with each game before you dive into it. And that also gets us to number 9, which is the mistake of not playing demos. Because so many times, whenever a new big title gets announced in VR, you might directly want to buy it, only to find out afterwards that it is not at all what you were expecting. And this is sadly especially common for VR games. So instead, make sure to always check if there's a demo available that you can try out beforehand. And surprisingly though, while many games have these often don't show up by themselves in the store page. So to find them, just type in whatever game you are interested in, followed by demo, inside the search bar. And in a lot of cases, you will then actually find them. But let's say that after this, you are sure that you want the full version of it. Then we have mistake number 10, and that is to never pay the full price of any VR game. And no, that doesn't mean you have to wait months or even years for it to finally go on sale. But it mainly means that even if the game you want to get is not on sale at all, then you could always at least shave off 10% of your total purchase with the code VRelity. And that actually goes for all the games on the Quest store, as well as DLC and add-ons. So, next time that you want to buy a new VR game, make sure to at least save yourself some money by doing this. And that also goes for number 11, which is not using the free Horizon Plus. And as some of you might know already, nearly every Quest 3 and 3S comes with 2 months worth of Horizon Plus included. And this is pretty much the same as a Game Pass, but then for the Quest headsets. Although, since you will always have to fill in your details to even be able to redeem it, a lot of people just put it to the side or forget all about it until it is expired. And that can be a big waste, because with Horizon Plus, you can have full access to over 100 games that can go from the latest releases and must-play titles to also some real hidden gems. But another mistake that you don't want to fall into is number 12, which is only limiting yourself to the Horizon store page, because the Quest headsets can also be connected to a computer or PC, so that you can play the entire Steam VR library on it too. And that brings in a bunch of AAA games that have much higher quality than the standalone titles that you're used to. But even if you don't have a buff gaming PC, then you should at least install SideQuest on your headset, so that you can sideload and choose from a bunch of extra games that aren't available at all on the official Horizon store. And mistake number 13 is tracking problems. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that when you are playing in a dark room with your Quest 3, then it will have some big struggles with keeping up the tracking of your controllers. And while the Quest 3S actually has less of a problem with this thanks to their built-in sensor, it is still highly recommended to play your VR games in a well-lit environment. And secondly, also make sure you don't have any real-life mirrors in your play space, since these can mess up your VR positioning with your cameras. And mistake number 14 is only using your Quest for gaming. Now, of course, while most of your time will probably be spent on some intense battlefield or inside some crazy VR fantasy world, your headset is also capable of a lot of other stuff. Think about watching your favorite movies and shows on a massive screen in front of you, or even for letting out your artistic skills by creating some beautiful art pieces, and even DJing for your own music. But just like how important it is to try out new things, that same can be said for number 15, and that is not playing VR alone all the time. And yes, while most people do use their headset pretty much 100% in solo experiences, including myself, my favorite memories I've ever made in VR are still always from when I made new friends in some VR MMORPG or other places online. And while many of the popular social VR platforms have definitely become less appealing over the years, it is still more than worth it to go out there and try to make some new friends along the way. And number 16 is not deleting your games, because not only will you quickly run out of storage on your Quest 3 if you don't do this, you will also notice that some big performance issues will start to pop up, or your headset not even being able to update at all anymore. So make sure to clean up those games every now and then, especially if you no longer play them. But by far, the biggest mistake that you want to avoid is number 17, and that is leaving your headset in direct sunlight. Because when you do this, the optics of the Quest 3 and 3S will basically work like a magnifying glass that can permanently burn your screen. And while it is good to know that this is less likely to occur with the Quest 3 than it is with the Quest 3S, it is still a must to store your headset in either a case or in a spot far away from the sun. But that is not all, because there are also some important features that you need to unlock first for your Quest 3 and Quest 3S. So click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out on that. And of course, stay awesome.